Kapuna Wiki's Hawaii Senior Resource. We talk to the best local professionals in the state regarding topics such as real estate, senior housing, estate planning, finance, and health, so that our Kapunan families can find the best resources in the midst of a life transition. We strive to make sure our seniors are informed and supported every step of the way. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Brandon Lau.
And I'm Andrew Leong,
your host for the Kapuna Wiki radio show.
If you missed any of our shows on air, the Kapuna Wiki radio show is available as a podcast and can be found on both Spotify and Apple for your listening pleasure. Our title sponsor for today is Cheney Brooks Choice Advisors, providing you with the best real estate information so you can make the most informed decisions. As they like to say, real estate is about choice. To contact them, call 753-9033.
And now we have our real estate tip of the week brought to you by Cheney Brooks Choice Advisors.
Termites can live in your home undetected for many years before you notice any signs of damage. Some tips to look out for in your home are discolored or drooping wall or drywall, peeling paint that looks like water damage, crumbling or damaged wood, small pinpoint holes in the drywall, mud tubes around your home, squeaky floorboards, and wings left around where you may have a light on at night. If you suspect that you may have termites and don't know where to begin, it may be a good idea to consult with your trusted agent at Cheney Brooks Choice Advisor.
For more information on how to maintain your home and possibly be pest-free, contact Cheney Brooks Choice Advisors at 753-9033. Again, today we have the pleasure of speaking with Trevor Drinen, owner of Signature Inspections Hawaii. Welcome, Trevor.
How are you?
I am doing well. Thanks for being on our show again.
Thank you.
So, lots happened. Obviously, we are coming at the tail end of a pandemic, and we see the light at the end of the tunnel. But you have been very busy. You're one of those essential service providers. Maybe share with us, how have things been with you and your business?
Very well. We've been very fortunate, very grateful. And it's also been somewhat heartbreaking in some ways as we go into homes where we see people that have not been able to leave home or out of work or even the physical means. They're in home, and at their home, they're just sort of captive. And so as we've come to their homes, it's been a fresh air to reconnect with them.
So just to be able to reconnect with customers who, for the longest time, have been physically distancing from everyone else.
Totally distant.
Totally distant.
Yep.
But you have still, you've been very active, and you've had to have been because there's a lot of home sales happening and a lot of inspections occur when there's buyers that need to make sure the home is in good repair.
Correct.
How were you able to do that in light of the pandemic?
Good question. I think we've done that on numerous areas. One is we've offered video summaries where we've gone on the property where it's vacant, and in a vacant property we'll do a full digital report, and that digital report is done by video. And we're really trying to embrace whether it's a homeowner that's off island, as in maintenance and property evaluation, or a buyer that's coming from overseas or wherever they're at around the world. The other things that we really try to do is if there is someone on site, and we'll socially distance, or they'll go outside while we're inside, and vice versa. If some people can't go outside these health reasons, we do our best to accommodate, but we're always wearing our personal protection gear, whether that's masks, gloves, booties, full suits, whatever we try to make the clients feel comfortable with.
Right. Now, for those who may not be as familiar with home inspections, you folks really do a very thorough review of property.
We hope so.
And it takes, it could take you a few hours on a single family home. Maybe you can share with our listeners, what are some of the key things that you go through, and how are you able to present that so that the homeowner or prospective homeowner has a really good understanding of the property?
Oh, good question. I think you spend on an average single family home anywhere from 3 to 5 hours. I think the key components that we really look at, we find a lot of neglect in homes is areas that aren't seen or areas that aren't maintained. Say roofs and crawl spaces. They're two of our favorite places to be at.
Speaking of termites.
Right, speaking of termites. And we find from termite damage underneath shingles and attic areas and crawl spaces all over, right? But when you get up on a roof, you could actually tell a lot on that area because it's not usually looked at or maintained very well. But we'll find hidden areas. We walk the roof. We try to walk every single roof. If we can't walk the roof, we do fly drones up and use technology. But once we're able to walk our roof, we're able to feel underneath our feet the material.
Right.
And you could feel that material where soft spots, where water damage or termite damage has occurred.
Right.
Other things, you could get down on your knees and you could feel underneath the wood of the fascia or the wood that trim pieces around the roof edges. And there we find a lot of hidden damage or neglected areas of the residence. And then you come even inside the residence in areas that are heavily trafficked and areas that we always want to make sure for people to maintain and watch, or say the corner areas or areas that people could trip over going downstairs or handrails that aren't fastened in place. It's taking your time and breathing, slowly digesting a property per se so you can present knowledge to the current owner, the current buyer, what's going on in that residence.
And I know you folks have this comprehensive report.
Yes.
What can somebody expect to find in that report?
Yeah, the report will cover everything from rooftop to the crawl space and everything in between. But it will also have some helpful tips. We'll talk about your water valves, like underneath your sinks, behind your toilets. If you actually grab that valve and move the valve, you're helping it lube and stay in condition versus become seized or frozen. And so you're being proactive carrying on your residence. Other things, you'll find helpful tips about smoke detectors. Most people don't understand or realize that smoke detectors should be replaced every 5 years. My grandmother, her smoke detector's yellow. It hasn't been replaced ever, probably. But the truth is we need to be proactive caring for our residents in those small areas. And it makes a big difference over time.
Yeah, I think hearing what you're sharing with us, it brings to thought the idea that we shouldn't just do an inspection when we buy or sell a property, because that could be 20, 30 years between each interval.
Yes.
But to really know the condition of a property is really to our benefit to live in a safe home.
Yes.
Right?
Well said.
So have you been able to help people just to get a basic understanding of the status of their property?
Yeah, so in 2020 and 2021, we're actually pushing more of a maintenance inspection just to incorporate knowledge for people.
Right.
Now, some maintenance inspections we actually have on the schedule to do every quarter. So we're doing them quarterly, some every 6 months and some yearly. It really depends upon how proactive people want to be on their residence. Now, people sometimes are scared of an inspector coming in, oh, you're going to find everything, or you're going to see it's terrible. And it's like, no, we're really here just to educate you on conditions of your property so that you can make a wise decision and proactively care for the property. It's like, I love to be outdoors or run, and I have to meet with a dietitian or someone that tells me how my muscles are working so my body can handle that.
Right.
Or so. And I think our home is the same. We have to be proactive on our home care as well as our health care.
That's a good way to put it. I like that, home care.
Yeah. And also on home care, some of the common things, we'd mentioned even prior on trip hazards or railing. We always want to make sure like our carpet is tucked in and fastened down, because sometimes carpet wrinkles can actually become a trip hazard where someone could take a spill and fall and then become harmed.
I think a lot of times we become immune to what we're seeing in our houses because we see it every day.
Well said.
But get a third party in there who's an expert and they'll point out all the deficiencies. So for a home inspector like yourself, what are some of your certifications?
Yeah, so we have 2 national certifications. We're certified through ASHI, which is the oldest home inspection agency out there, and InterNACHI. We do both organizations because of the different benefits they provide as online training or additional education and different certifications. We have from deck certifications to roof certifications to foundations. We actually have pool testing and pool examinations. And then we partner with others in the community. We partner with local plumbers and local electricians. When people want an in-depth evaluation, we hand it over to them. So we partner with them versus saying, hey, we know it all. We really admit to say we're a big part of a community and there's so many components in a home.
Oh, yeah.
We identify that.
That's great. And it's good that you have these experts who can chime in.
Yeah.
And they have their specialty, which they can advise people on.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
When we come back, Trevor, I wanted to ask you, what are some key areas that you'd like Kupuna to be aware of when evaluating their own home? And I think this is from a maintenance but also a safety perspective. So we'll talk more about that right after this commercial break.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we have Trevor Drinen. He's the owner of Signature Inspections Hawaii. And right before the break, it was good. It was a good reference that you made about people do personal care, but they also should do home care as well. I like that. Now we all, for most people when buying a property, it's common, right, that they get a home inspection.
Yes.
But we touched on it previously as well. That perhaps maybe for the homeowners that have lived in it for say decades, right? It's not top of mind or it doesn't come to mind of them getting a home inspection. What would you say is a good time frame of when they should have a home inspection if they've lived in it, say X amount of years? Right?
Yeah.
Because again, over time, there's wear and tear on things. So when would be a good time, or how often? And then what are common things to look out for? Like you said, that crawl spaces and the attic, we never go up there. So obviously that's one place to keep in mind. But what are some other things that we can look out for?
A good question. I think we'd address the question of a time frame first.
Yeah.
Some people will do an annual inspection. Let's say you've lived there for 15 years and you haven't done an annual inspection. I always say if you try to inspect a home or have someone come in and evaluate your home to provide maintenance and care at minimum 3 to 5 years, with the reason you've probably had a couple storms go through the house,
right?
Whether it's a storm in the family or a physical storm outside, right?
Or kids.
Or kids.
That's
Grandkids. You've had some kind of whirlwind come through. And so along those lines, if we say 3 to 5 years, that's a little bit long because a lot of maintenance could probably be proactively cared for. And now you're hitting that 3 to 5 year where it's more becoming detrimental or could become detrimental to a residence. Say a common thing, a storm comes through and it blows some shingles off on a roof. If I let that go for 3 years, that could be quite some damage by water coming in, a pin drop nail hole. And if we say apply that same residence to, as we talked about earlier, wrinkled carpet, people think, oh, the carpet's just wrinkled. Well, that wrinkled carpet that was like a half an inch now is probably 6 or 7 wrinkles, and it's probably 1 inch to 2 inches tall in some areas, or it's coming up where it's fraying and catching people with a trip hazard. So really proactive care is on multiple areas. The other thing to really say and look at as that is a different eye from the outside. People aren't coming in to judge you.
Right.
Please hear that. They're not coming in to say, oh, you should have. We're not there at all. Sometimes I deal with that personally, hearing that, oh, my grandfather, my dad, oh, you should have. And it's like, no, we're really here to come alongside you and say, hey, here's some areas to look at for maintenance so that you care for your home, but you care for yourself. And so things are prevented, as in you're not going to have to spend major money to fix it down the road, and you're not going to get hurt.
Right. Preventative maintenance is usually the least costly.
Yes.
You want to prevent a leak or repair a leak.
Right. Proactive versus reactive.
Right.
Yeah.
I like what you said about judging, because I think some people might be concerned that maybe there's a illegal structure that was constructed or lanai that, oh, maybe this inspector is going to report me, but you're not a city inspector.
No.
You're hired by the homeowner to just inspect the home and for their benefit give them the report.
Yeah, and there's always that story of, hey, my uncle did the house, or my auntie did this, and sometimes people really deal with shame.
Right.
Like, we're there, or the home's not clean enough. And I'll tell you, people are so sweet out there, and it's such kindness to hear their story. And as an inspector, it's really an honor for them to even open the door and let us into that residence, because that's really letting us into their lives.
Right.
And there's really no judgment on those regards. But we're there to help and simply provide you with knowledge about your property's current conditions so you could best care for yourself, your family, and your residents.
Right. Now, somebody was going to reach out to you and they're saying, hey, Trevor sounds like a nice guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind having him come into my house and taking a look, seeing what the issues are. How do they go about doing that?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is a text or a phone call, 808-388-3425, or you could look at us online at signatureinspectionshawaii.com as a website, or you could even follow us on social media, looking at Instagram or Facebook or those channels, and it's at signatureinspectionshawaii.com. On the Instagram channels or Facebook channels, we try to do a lot of maintenance and tips. Some home inspectors will show you all the bad things they find, and we try to spin it and say, how can we help people by showing you, hey, we found this, and here's what to do about it. So simple maintenance and tips.
You know, we were talking earlier about trip hazards. You mentioned the wrinkled carpet. But, you know, I think for kupuna, that is one of the more serious issues.
It really is.
Is what are the trip hazards around the home? And it could be the concrete that goes around the property. It could be stairs. Could be, like you said, what's inside or transitions. So as a home inspector, how do you help kupuna identify those hazards? And then maybe is a recommendation beyond that?
I think we really try to step back and put ourselves in their shoes. You know, honestly, some of the bigger trip hazards would be from furniture that's sticking out around the corner. So you have a hallway coming into a living room, and sometimes there's a chair protruding out just a little bit, or a foot could be clipped on the bottom, or a dog bed can be clipped and tripped in those areas. To your wrinkled carpet, but then you think to stairs. Are the stairs have coating? Are they carpeted? Because carpeted stairs are very slippery. And then we just came out of the holidays. One of the biggest things about the holidays is we love to decorate our Christmas trees, but sometimes we like to run that electric cord in places it shouldn't go. And it becomes an area that we trip over. So it's really stepping back and evaluating with a fresh pair of eyes. And this could even be done by some others, but going, okay, what are potential areas that I would stub my toes on or I would trip on? And sometimes it's stairs that aren't at proper heights because there are different height differences in transitions, or transition strips that are no longer.
And you know, I think there's some cases where if a person's owned the property for decades, you know, and again, they don't call a repair person because nothing is necessarily broken, but there's a lot of wear and tear. What are some common things that you would find in these older residences that haven't, you know, been through a lot of maintenance, but you know these things should be done? What are some, you know, top 5 things that you would say you come across?
I would say, starting on the exterior, the number one thing that we see is damaged concrete. Say if a person has gutters or they don't, gutters catch the water, but the water comes off the roof, then falls on our concrete. And then even you could say it falls from the sky to hit our concrete. Well, actually the concrete has a sealant on it when it's first poured. But over time, that sealant deteriorates and you'll see almost a river rock exposed area. Well, once that concrete deteriorates like that, then it starts to crack. And then water starts to go in the concrete and suck in almost like a sponge. And then after it cracks, it becomes unlevel. And I think we can all say, you look at a driveway, when was the last time I proactively sealed my concrete?
I've never done
it. Most people have never sealed their concrete, but if you seal it, it actually helps the water shed off. It doesn't make it slippery, but it helps it shed away, and then it doesn't soak in and affect your foundation. It doesn't cause concrete cracking or spalling, and many other things that it can. Other thing, by sealing the concrete, what that does is it actually protects the exterior of your residence, where water could actually go next to the foundation and then wick up the wall.